We give you here a Boker Tov, a good morning, and going to have also a still a shorter class today. I am back from the Holy Land. Let me sit down over here. I'm back from the Holy Land. I actually had a memorial service for someone here near the beach at the Fort Lauderdale beach. So just finished that. So I want to give a little shorter insight so that we do some learning. No coffee over here. Let me set this up over here. Hold on a second. Let me move this so that you can see me. I hope you see me properly. I hope you hear me properly. If you don't hear me properly, please let me know. But I'm over here at the Fort Lauderdale, one of the little spots here at the Fort Lauderdale beach. And I just want to share one or two or three thoughts. It won't take too long because it's not really the sort of settled environment to give the usual Sunday morning Torah and coffee. But we will do so, God willing. I think next week we'll be back to our regular schedule. But some of my observations, maybe an insight or two or three from my recent trip to the Holy Land. Some of the things I shared while there. But, there is, and I want to apply it not just as a sort of a personal experience, but a little bit broader than that, also connected to the time that we're in. This past week was Chodesh, was Shabbos Mevorachim, was the blessing of the new month, which is the month of Elul, which is the month that we start to prepare for Rosh Hashanah. It is the word Elul, one of the most famous acronyms for Elul. We might talk about this more next week, is Ani Ledodi V'Dodi Li from Shir Hashirim, and from the Song of Songs, where King Solomon gives the metaphor of our relation with God like a beloved beloved couple who are in deep love with each other. And over there it says Ani Ledodi V'Dodi Li, I am to my beloved to me is to me. And it's also the acronym for the month of Elul. So within that context, I want to share a couple of thoughts about my trip to Israel. I would assume that some of you have that same feeling when you travel. And there's a lot that can be, let me put the phone on silent mode so that all these messages do not disturb the class over here. Okay, so there is, I went to the Kotel quite a number of times. I could say like this, when I got off the plane, as is mentioned in the Talmud, when I got off the plane and I got out of the airport, the first thing I did was kiss the ground. The Talmud says that our great sages, when they would arrive in Israel, would kiss the ground. That is an important act of saying that I'm not just here, for the touring aspect of it, which there's a lot to tour in Israel, but there's a sacred, holy, special aspect, of course, to the land of Israel, Eretz Yisrael, which is called Eretz HaKodesh, the Holy Land. When I came back to the United States last week, somebody correctly said to me, I'm not saying to you, welcome home, I'm just saying to you, welcome back. Because Israel is the ancestral and eternal home to all of us. And you have that feeling, you like everything in life, you could easily lose focus sometimes on some of the distractions. Some good distractions and some not so good distractions. You have to stay focused in life. It's an important thing to stay focused. So I was at the Kotel quite a number of times, and one of the observations as I'm praying at the Kotel for the entire community, for on a personal level, on a family level, on a community level, on a humanity level, I'm really trying to connect. And I look at the stones of the Kotel, and it's just, to me, it hit me that there's a lot of like these cracks. I'm not talking about the crevices where everybody puts their notes in. There's just the stones itself. It's just because of the age, there are cracks. And it reminded me of like in my mind, in my vision, it reminded me of like an older grandfather or grandmother who has gone through much of the trials and tribulations of life, the challenges of life, and has a much deeper understanding and appreciation, and at the same time is there to accept, when the grandchild comes over to the grandparent, is there to accept, to soothe, to comfort. So here the walls sort of tell the story of generations of struggle, of challenges, of good times, of difficult times. And yet the wall to me was like that friendly grandparent that has all those sort of wrinkles of life on their face, but is there to accept and to comfort. It was just this feeling that I have that I'm just sharing, do with it as you wish. But it's part of the general feeling of coming home. I say this in the context, in addition to many other stories that you could share, that I could share. I know many, but several stories that were meaningful to me while being there in Israel. Some cute stories, maybe we'll share at a different opportunity. But I also share this because the month of Elul is a time that we prepare for the high holidays. And on a deeper level, the high holidays is not only meant to sort of be something to scare us. It's a day of judgment, God judges us, but it's also about coming home to our essence. The word tshuva, repentance in Hebrew, repentance is not the exact proper translation, because repentance in Hebrew would mean more charata, regret. Tshuva, in the most literal sense, means actually coming home. Reminds me of a story. It's a potent story about a child in Israel. Don't remember his name. I just reread this story yesterday. Child growing up in Israel to parents who were traditional Jews, who were observant Jews, and so on. But the child was sort of rebellious, had his own inner struggles, and at one point, sort of fully rebelled, created a lot of tension, and finally, because of all that tension and different paths in life that he chose versus his parents, he decided to just leave, throw it all away, throw away the tradition, Jewish practice, and he traveled to India, and he basically, took on a whole new lifestyle. His outer garb was not the traditional Jewish garb. That's the way he resolved the different issues and struggles that he had, both internally and with his family around him. And this, quite a number of years where he was totally estranged from his family. His friend relates that one day he was in Miron. I had the honor and blessing to be in Miron at this last visit as well. He was in Miron, and all of a sudden he's praying at the kever, at the gravestone and the burial of the famous holy author of the Zohar, Rab Shimon Bar Yochai. Thousands and thousands of people come there to pray. Tens of thousands of people come there to pray. And he all of a sudden notices that this friend that he hasn't seen in years is standing there with a kippah, looking like he did years before. And he's like totally shocked. What's going on? What brings you here? And he said to him the following story. He said to him that, a short while ago, one of my childhood friends that lives in my neighborhood in Jerusalem showed up in India. And I was surprised to see him there. And in our discussion, he said to me, why don't you come back home? You've been gone for years. Come back home, both in the literal sense and in the spiritual sense, in the heritage sense. He says, when am I going to come back home? He says, my parents have disassociated. It's better for them this way. There's no tension between me and them. I live my life. They live their life. I have many other siblings. It's just better this way. So my friend said to me the following. He says, I want you to know, you think that your parents have moved on and have sort of cut you out of their life and you're not part of the family's life anymore. I want you to know that everybody in the neighborhood knows that for all these years until today that you're gone, 24/7, your parents never locked their outside door. never, in the hope that, and in the symbolic hope, and in the symbolic act, and in the hope that you will show up. And even if you show up in the middle of the night, they don't want you to find the door locked. This is how your parents have been living their life, every single moment of their life. And he says to his friend now at the kever of the Rashbi, at the burial spot of the Rashbi, he says, when I heard this, it somehow penetrated all the layers of distance between me and my heritage, between me and my God, between me and my parents. And I'm here today. I have returned home. So, Israel's our home. Who we are, our core, our soul, is our true home. And as we prepare now for Rosh Hashanah, we enter the month of Elul, is a time where God is saying the door is opened. The door is open for each one of us on our level and in our own journey. We sometimes get distracted by perhaps everybody on their level. We all know our own internal struggles. We lose focus. We perhaps travel from our true core of who we are individually, collectively. So now the month of Elul is a time when we sort of take stock and we ask ourselves, okay, will we take advantage of this door that is always left open? And as a result, special encouragement, special strength, special energy is present at this time for us to take advantage as we prepare, as we come back to ourselves, who our parents were, who our grandparents were. It's a time to think about these things. That's the blessing of this time. It's the love of this time. It's the energy of this time. Let's do so. Thank you for the sharing. Thank you for all the good messages that I got while I was in the Holy Land. I really, at all the holy places that I was, constantly, had all of you, all of my sort of friends over here, community in mind for blessing and all that you need. May my prayers on behalf of all of you come to fruition, and in all that you need, have blessing also, and in our personal growth, which is so important, our personal spiritual growth, but blessings both physically, spiritually. Thank you very, very much for being part and allowing me to share all of this and all the good wishes that I got. I can't leave out, although I've shared videos of that, it was really very meaningful and special and an honor to be there with the soldiers of Hebron. Hebron is, within Israel, it's probably, sort of the spot, as I said, where so much attention is concentrated, and hopefully the real peace. I asked the Chabad rabbi that was taking me around, and I asked him, this is just a bit of a report. I said, this Hebron has hundreds of thousands of Arabs, a handful of Jews, even though it's the city of our patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I asked him, the Chabad rabbi, do you have many sort of Arab friends that you're close with over here? And he said, absolutely. And in his view, unfortunately, a lot of the terror and hatred, which we of course have to eliminate, comes from outside influences. Now, I didn't have an in-depth discussion, so I don't know if what I'm saying is accurate, but I was sort of happy to hear that. I was happy to hear that because, if we collectively both, we both come from Abraham, and if we could collectively stamp out the evil amongst us, Jew and Arab alike, and strengthen our alliances and highlight, I was, just a cute story. I was in the shuk. I was in the Machanesh, the famous shuk in Jerusalem. And as I'm shopping there, and there's tremendous abundance, the energy is fantastic, and there's constantly, collectors, beggars coming over asking, can you help for Shabbat? And I, giving them whatever it is, a shekel, 2 shekels, whatever it might be. And one fellow who comes over to me, and one of the beggars who I gave some help before, from behind his back says, he's an Arab. He says to me that the fellow shouldn't hear. And, to me it was, so what? You know what I mean? He's here, he needs help. We are a kind people. Abraham, our forefather, was the first to show the example that you help all of mankind. So I'm sure, and I know, And I believe and I hope that peace can be achieved because people at their very core are good. I truly believe so, that it's on both sides, if we want to call it sides. I'm not in La La Land. I do believe that unfortunately there's a lot of sort of hatred being taught to youngsters, which affects their mind. I hope and I wish that the Palestinian Authority stays to that commitment of what they have committed to the UN, as not to teach hatred against Israel. And I hope that we Jews, our fellow brothers and sisters, also can understand that all of mankind is one family, and we need to be giving and loving and caring on a real way. That doesn't mean to give up any land, because the land is ours, and it's a complicated issue. Not in its truth. In its truth form, it's not complicated. God gave us the land, and it's ours. In a practical sense, of course, there are difficulties, and we need. I'm not here, the wisest man, to resolve that issue, but at least we need to know what the truth is. So I'm just sharing, just some thoughts over here, out loud, thinking out loud, sharing out loud to my fellow friends here, and may all the blessings and the prayers that we have had the merit to pray at many of the holy places. The tomb of Abraham and Isaac. Actually, Isaac is closed off with Abraham and Sarah and many of the other holy sites. May all those prayers be fulfilled. You should have a good and blessed and wonderful week.